Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the SHAIR podcast. And today, we don't even have an episode. I recorded this conversation that one of my previous guests and I had, Oleg Lougheed, and I just recorded because every time we get on a conversation, it turns into something very mystical and magical. So today, what we were talking about was the book, one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, the coronavirus, and what that means to us and potentially to the world, soul coaching oracle cards, and really a whole lot more. I pressed record as we'd already started the conversation, but I just asked him how he was enjoying The Alchemist, because it was the first time he was reading The Alchemist. I've read The Alchemist like 5 times with Paulo Coelho. Highly recommend this book. It's one of my favorite books. It's incredible. I get a new meaning every time I read the book. We just started talking about Urim and Thurim, which I pronounced wrong when we were talking. I pronounced it Urim and Surim. But Urim and Thurim are fortune-telling stones that Melchizedek, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, gives to Santiago. And what Urim and Thurim symbolize are certainty and objective knowledge. This type of certainty, however, is ultimately presented as less valuable than the opportunity to learn from the world and to make one's own choices. So very similarly to soul oracle coaching cards or tarot cards, in the book, Santiago, which is the main character, was given these stones by a king and was told that whenever he was stuck or wasn't sure about a decision he was about to make, he could ask Urim and Thurim for guidance. And that's basically where we were at in the conversation when I pressed record. So hopefully that gives you enough information leading in. This is almost 2 hours, and we literally take you into a journey, just like the book, The Alchemist. And before we dive into this conversation, please be sure to click subscribe to the SHAIR Podcast YouTube channel. And also make sure to check out the SHAIR Podcast website, where you can learn more about the SRC, the SHAIR Recovery Community, or go to omarpinto.com so you can learn more about one-on-one coaching with me. So without further ado, let's dive into this week's conversation with Oleg Lougheed.
Is with that thing at price. The other thing that I realized is, even with the 2 rocks that he has, and supposedly just due to the temperature that he feels, one of them gives you a yes and the other one says a no when he asks the question, there is still that underlying message beyond it that, hey, even though you may have these 2 tools to help you make a decision, you're still the one ultimately deciding it. You're still the one ultimately deciding the fate of the journey that you're about to embark on. So it's a really interesting read, because it just goes back to everything that I think not only I've been through, but everything that I've learned. And it is, the signs are always there. I'll give you one of the signs that I actually started to implement with my business. I was watching a video 45 seconds to 1 minute of Gary Vaynerchuk at an event that he was in. I think it was in London or someplace like that. And there was this guy that stands up in the middle of a crowd during a Q&A. And he says, hey, I'm 40 years old. I've had a hard time finding investors for this concept that I started. I just don't know what to do. So where do you find this money? And so Gary says, I don't give a shit that you're 40 years old. And what you should do is take a different approach. And what if you were to turn to the resources that you already have, such as Google, and literally Google the wealthiest people in the world, and try to make an emotional connection with them. So I followed the advice, found a list put together by Forbes, sent them an email, and I said, hey, you guys put together this study saying that there are 2,200 billionaires in the world. Any way you guys could share the spreadsheet with me? The guy sends me an email back. He's like, here you go. sent me the same email that they already have in a Forbes article. They already have the list in there. So he just sent me the spreadsheet. And so I literally just, next thing that I started doing, literally yesterday and today, is I would Google the person's name, find the company, and then start connecting with the HR people of those organizations. And so it's like, and now.
Did you get any responses yet?
I haven't gotten any responses yet. I got a couple people that accepted their requests, and I'm actually going a different route as far as even establishing a level of engagement with them. So instead of hitting them up directly with the message, hey, this is why I contacted you and this is what my ask is, I'm taking a different approach. And I'm doing it right now, commenting on their posts, their articles as the first engagement to start that dialogue with them. But I thought that was a really interesting approach because it's the same thing that the Alchemist says. The signs are always there. You already have the resources, which goes back to that line. A friend of mine many years ago told me this, and it literally didn't click until now. It is, life is, what is it? It's like 2% how you react, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Life is, I don't even know if it's 2%.
90% what happens and 10% how you reacted, or something like that.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Because your reaction's a lot more. But it's true. It's spot on. It's like, yeah, we're in the mix of this, but is that to say that there's absolutely no one in the world that's making money? No one in the world that's somehow building? No one in the world that can help? That's not true. So I think what has happened and what it made me realize after more and more conversations is that the scales have tipped. You know, in my opinion, focus used to be more on the brick and mortar, the restaurants and everything that you can go to. Now everything's online. And so those that were online in the online business before, when everything was normal, some of them are like, fuck this is impossible. The brick and mortar is just swallowing my business. And then boom, the only way you can get toilet paper is literally through an order of Amazon or some sort of online shop. You literally can't, like, grocery stores are sold out of them. So that's what it made me realize. In that book, it just reiterated the same exact thing, that the signs are always there. The omens, as he says it.
Yeah, the omens.
You know?
The little rocks, Urim and Surim.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do that every once in a while because my wife and I, we have these soul coaching cards.
Uh-huh.
So we've got like 4 decks of soul coaching cards. You ever seen those?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. You heard of tarot cards?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. So there's these, go to any bookstore and ask them for oracle cards or whatever, tarot cards. And there'll be a section where they have these boxes of cards. And on there are messages. So what my wife and I will do is we'll take the deck and we'll say, okay.
Wait. I might have a deck. Let me bring it real quick to make sure it's the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Is this it?
I am connected to the earth. Very similar. Yes. Yeah. Let me see the other side.
It's just blank. You're supposed to.
What's the box? Let me see the box. What's
inquire within.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah, you're supposed to pick a card. And then from there, you kind of just let it. I haven't practiced this because I don't understand it well enough as far as how do you.
You're overcomplicating it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Totally. So for example, this is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I will be like, we're looking to buy a property, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's different ways that I'll ask questions and try and connect with some sort of a message, either some sort of a download, a spiritual download,
Mm-hmm.
through meditation or connection with something outside of me. Or we'll take these core oracle cards, and it's like, okay, so this is an amazing opportunity. We really want to jump in. We want to buy this piece of property, right? What do you think, cards? And then we'll just shuffle the deck,
Mm-hmm.
and then cut the deck, pull a card, and there's an answer, right? And so,
Any card.
yeah, for example, shuffle your cards right now.
Okay.
Just keep shuffling them, shuffle them. Don't look at make sure you're looking at the backside.
Uh-huh.
All right. So just be like, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then while you're shuffling, we'll say, all right, so card deck. Okay, I'll ask, as a matter of fact, let's see if we can do this. We can do this from over here. I'll ask the question, you pull the card.
Okay.
All right. So what is it that I am supposed to be focusing on at this time during this pandemic? What should I be focusing on during this time? All right. Now just cut the deck and pull a card. Okay. It is within reach. Okay. And what's at the top of the hand? Okay. So it's a hand with some kind of, looks like some
Diamond, treasure.
diamond, okay. So that's a good way of doing it. Some sort of a precious stone.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this precious stone that is within reach.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say it is within reach, does it feel like a positive or a negative?
Oh, for sure feels like a positive.
Feels like a positive. So
Right.
automatically, as I look at this, it's like, what should I be focusing on right now? What should I be focusing on right now? And it's
Mm.
saying hey, it's within reach. It's within reach. So now my question is, well, what's within reach? But it sure does seem positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so really what these cards do is they allow you to, with this message, like Urim and Surim, is really ultimately, I have to make the decision.
Right.
I have to make the decision of what that card means to me. What's within reach? What's within reach for you? And what's within reach for me? So what's within reach for you?
What is within reach for me? And does it have to, well, I guess the treasure could be anything.
Whatever comes to your mind. See, that's the thing.
Right.
If something manifests itself, what's the first thought in your head?
Well, the very first thing I thought of was gratitude. Just being grateful for many things. Breathe, to read, to even do this. Connection. That's the very first thing that I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
What else is within reach? New routine. What else is within reach? Seeing my body go through a transformation. Spending more time with my dog. Seriously. And becoming a lot more conscious with that time. Calling my parents. Calling my parents on a weekly basis instead of a monthly. Yeah, that's interesting how that works. Interesting what's interesting about that is the shape and definition that this treasure actually begins to take when you start looking outside of the monetary.
Well, think exactly, because there was nothing in there about possessions, and there was nothing in there about money. There was nothing in there about the external.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about what's happening inside of me. Gratitude was
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that came to mind. Connection was the other thing. For me, what came to mind was new connections. And for you, it was like new other things, right? So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, if they have a positive outlook, are going to say, well, new opportunities, new potential, new connections, okay, feeling of gratitude, feeling of curiosity and bewilderment and excitement of
Mm-hmm.
what's to come. And really, we are able to get into a place and feel comfortable. This is
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to get comfortable with uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
because as a species we crave certainty. We
Yeah.
crave it. We crave certainty because it makes us feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, for so many, there's such a tremendous amount of uncertainty. And if you think, since we're all going through this together, the collective and the universal consciousness is all connected right now. We're all feeling the same, very similar ways, because we have the same focal point. So
Mm-hmm.
the coronavirus, we are all every day thinking about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And so and the second thing that we're thinking about after the coronavirus is uncertainty. Will things go back to normal? Am I going to lose my
Mm-hmm.
job? Will I run out of money? Am I going to catch the coronavirus? So
Yeah.
number one is the coronavirus. Number two is uncertainty. That is universal consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And so sitting and journaling and meditating, like when you said that, I'm like, dude, my coach is like, dude, now's the time to write your book. Now's the time to start writing.
Yeah.
Because what's going to come through this time, there's so much opportunity to connect with universal consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone right now is forced to tap into the same thoughts, what creates, intensity. So
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus, uncertainty. And then what's the next thing? That's what separates all of us. Because the third thing, I can either be positive or I can be negative. Because now,
Mm-hmm.
first it's corona, then it's uncertainty, then it's positive or negative, right?
And you
Gratitude
choose.
or fear,
Yeah.
faith or fear, gratitude
Mm-hmm.
or attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not attached, I'm free.
Mm-hmm.
If I am not attached, I am free. And that's what's cool about those cards. Because just from pulling that card, we have this opportunity to unpack, okay, from that question, what am I here to learn from this experience? What am I, yeah. I'm not even sure. What was the question I asked? Good thing I recorded it. What was the question I asked?
Um,
See, it doesn't even matter.
what should I be looking for? Something like that.
Exactly. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah.
But we pulled up a card, but it was about the coronavirus
Mm-hmm.
and it was about uncertainty.
Yeah. Yeah.
What should I be doing? What should I be learning? What's this, that? And it's like, it's within your reach. And then there's this treasure. The question mark is only what's the treasure?
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude, curiosity, a
Commitment to
connection,
yourself.
commitment to yourself, commitment to your family. What's
Mm-hmm.
essential? What's important?
Mm-hmm. Damn, that puts it in perspective. It really does. It does though, because that's exactly why I chose to do what I started as far as the reading and the journaling and everything, because it just made me it took me back to a time years ago and just understanding the impact that it had back then. And I think it's one of those things where, to a degree, it speaks to what you just spoke of as far as that level of certainty. And that's if you do the inner work, you're bound to see results. You don't know what those results will be, but in most cases, they will be positives, because your intention is to go with a positive mindset. And your intention is to commit to yourself to better yourself, to better your thought, to better your way of communicating, connecting. And yeah, it's I don't know, man. I think it's a great time to be alive. I
Oh
think it's a great time
yeah.
to be alive and experience this on such level. And also understand that even when this does pass and we transition into some other phase of life, that this will still not define me. So I think what this time says to me is that this is another opportunity for you to practice what you think, the power of your choice, what you choose to consume, what you choose to do with it, and how you choose to move forward.
And so at the end of the day, how I choose to move forward, if I go back to the card, coronavirus, uncertainty, fear, or faith. That is what lies underneath uncertainty. Am I afraid or do I have faith? And from there, whatever side I land on is where my treasure is going to come from.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get something.
It's true.
You are going to get a
Yeah.
treasure regardless of whether you pick fear or you pick faith.
Isn't it also interesting how you and I started to talk, when we started to talk about the book, the core theme of that was Santiago going on this quest to find the treasure. And the card that we pull out literally has a symbol of what a treasure looks like.
Oh my God. I hadn't even. Oof.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You started telling me about.
Like
You,
it's a diamond or whatever it is in the shape of a diamond. That's the ultimate treasure to some. And it
well,
could have
if
been
any of
any
us,
other card.
if
It
any
could
of
have
us
been
were
a
to,
card that says like inhale or exhale,
yeah,
or,
yeah.
the grass is green. And instead it said, it is within reach. And it's the hand reaching for that treasure. And prior to that, our conversation was Santiago going on a quest to find his treasure. So just another example that there is a huge level of connection and energy that passes between all of us as people all the time. And this just this was a perfect example that it's like, it's not only is it all interconnected somehow, which it is, but you can actually share that energy and understanding among so many different forms. I mean, we're literally talking about a fictional character, Santiago, who was going to find his treasure. And here we are, just pulled out a card. And now we're
talking about treasure. But this is the beautiful thing too, so when we think about how simple, when we think about essentialism, okay, we right now more than ever are at a point in our lives we can literally take the time to take stock and take inventory of what's important. And those things are our treasures. We have treasures. And we've heard people talk about, you don't treasure your relationship. You take your marriage for granted, or you take your children for granted, or you take something for granted. You don't treasure them.
Mm-hmm.
And in your mind, it's like a part of you goes, yeah, I know. I need to spend more time with them. I need to not take them for granted, right? It's just that I'm so busy and I have so many things to do.
Yeah.
As soon as I get here, as soon as I do this, as soon as I achieve that, then I'll appreciate my treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's a line.
so there's a lot
There's
there,
a,
right?
yeah, and
So the
there's a line.
coronavirus, not only that, think about that card,
Right.
right? What does it say again?
It is within reach.
And we're in quarantine. So what's within reach? My wife, my dogs, my cat, your dog. What else is in reach over there?
Mm-hmm. My journal, my book.
The treasure is within reach. So what's within reach? Oh my God, we can go so far down this rabbit hole. It's fantastic. But
Yeah.
seriously, your treasure is within reach. So whatever is within reach is your treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you're not living in a crack house listening to this.
But it's so it's spot on, because it makes me think that there's a line in the book where Santiago says that the one of the reasons why people don't find their treasure is because of this force that's always there with us. And what that force is that thought of it's impossible. I can't do it, can't be done. It's the negative force. I'm pretty sure that's how he even calls it, the negative force. And yeah, that book is just really profound, because it makes you understand that even though both coexist, and that's the thing, they coexist at every given moment. Within everything that you do, there's always the positive and always the negative.
Always.
Always. But you have a choice. And that's the thing that I like what you said as far as the two things, corona and an uncertainty, and the third thing you choose. That's the differentiator. That's the thing that separates people, species, anything, is that you have that choice in which route do you go to seek out your own treasure, seek out your own path, carve a path where it wasn't there before. Break away from the norm, break away from how you were taught to think or what you were taught to believe. One of the things that I've wanted to do, and I'm just going to start doing it, is I've wanted to start a version of a book club. And I've wanted to start a version of a book club with people, not even necessarily people, because it can be accessible to all, but people who really choose to embark on journeys like this. And that's really doing an inner dive within who they are. And part of that just, there's just share perspectives, like what do you see? How, not even necessarily how does it change? What does it make you do differently? But what do you see through reading this that you haven't seen before? Because, I picked up this book the second time, and I will tell you this, that this first part that I read this in a completely different manner than the first time that I picked up the book. And it's true, because I've already seen that happen so many times. I read Think and Grow Rich 3 times, and every time I read it, it's like, wow, I never even thought this way. So a lot of it also has to do with where you are. at that particular phase. And the cool thing about the book is that the book chooses to accept you within whatever chapter you are without giving you any judgment in return. So if there's anything that always accepts you for who you are, it's probably a book. Because it can't communicate back to you.
Ooh, that was good. All this because I said, so you've been reading The Alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
You've been getting any good takeaways? And I knew you had. It's impossible to read The Alchemist and not be able to apply the lessons and the learnings that you are reading about in the book and what's happening in your current point in time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The first time I read it, I was still doing drugs. So, I mean, imagine, how I was reading this mystical literature. Okay. So I read it. Somebody gave it to me when I was still getting high. And then somebody else gave it to me when I gotten sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I think I got the book 2 or 3 times from different people that have no correlation with each other. And it was like, this is your book, Omar. This is your book. This is the messages that are in here are for you. And so, yeah, I read it. I remember reading it, and then I would go through tough times, and then I would read it again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And each time I would get something new and even more perspective. So when you said you were reading it, I said, tell me what you're thinking about, or tell me what it's provoked. And it's always just this incredible wealth of information that just starts to surface.
Mm-hmm. Also speaks to the power of language.
Mm-hmm.
What is language at the end of the day? Because it didn't even made me think of, how the hell do I communicate with my dog? But I do. He gets what I'm saying. But I speak English to him, but he doesn't speak English back. But he understands. And that's the thing that it also made me realize after reading that part, was the universal language that we all use with each other, with different things. We don't all have to be speaking English or Russian or whatever it may be to understand each other. And we demonstrate it every single day through the simplest things. Your communication with an animal is a perfect example of that. You tell the dog to go to bed, you tell him you're going on a walk, you get completely different reactions. You spell out the word walk, the dog is like a newborn puppy. You tell him to go to bed, his tail goes down and goes to bed, thinking that he did something wrong. So it's interesting how language works. And that was one of the things I remember. I was reading it and I got up and I was just so lost in thought. Like, how is that possible? It just says that there is a universal language beyond it all.
Well, what is that? That universal language? Okay, I'll just give you my take on universal language. Mm-hmm. It's higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
There's no words for the universal consciousness, right? There was, right? But we can connect. It's the mind, mind reading, but there is the universal language is higher consciousness. Mm-hmm. It's what brings us all together. We are one. That is the language. That's why your dog understands you. At some point, your energy will be transmitted.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about what we say. It's our facial expressions. It's our tone. It's, so many different things. And so someone can tell that you're afraid or you're angry or you're
Mm-hmm.
sad without saying a word. And that the universal, that higher consciousness says, I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened.
Mm. And then that's what you begin to attract. You attract more of, you reconstruct your world every minute.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to even think that the thought is, I have this world that I've built and continue to build, but maybe a step beyond that is that world changes so many different shapes within every given minute. Anytime you learn something new, that old world completely out the window. Like you're in a completely different sphere now. Every time you experience a new thought, all the emotions, all the feelings that it evokes, the happiness, the wonder, the curiosity, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I was just born again. Yeah, that book, that book's powerful.
That book is powerful.
That book is powerful.
There's never been anyone that I don't think there's been one person that I've said, hey, have you read The Alchemist? And they didn't say, oh my God, my favorite book or one of my favorite books, or, they've gotten so much out of it. Never met anyone that I talked to about The Alchemist and it didn't impact their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It is a universal language. And it's been translated in like every language on the planet.
Mm-hmm. It's just a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story. And I think the other thing one of the other reasons why it's beautiful is because it's a story that's told of just a person that we can all relate to. We've all experienced a lot of those themes. The fear of the unknown, the quest for the treasure, the paying the price for something to get closer to that thing, the thinking that you got to live out however many years and work however many years to get that treasure, when really it's already available to you. That ultimate thing that you have in your mind, it's already there. It is within reach. So the only differentiator between that is that you got to know what it is, and then you got to reach. And the reach goes back to effort. You just got to give it some effort. That's why I think that phrase, fall down 7, get up 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Just give it some effort. Give it a try. And even through the act of trying, you already got up that 8th time.
Well, it's really about not giving up.
Yeah.
That's all. Just don't give up. That's all. Keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep moving forward. Fall down 7, get up 8. Because after that comes fall down 8, get up 9.
Yeah, it's true. Every other step beyond that.
Fall down 127, get up 128.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey, really incredible journey to be on and to experience. Wow. Well, now at least I know how to use these cards.
Yeah, bro.
don't overcomplicate it. That's the thing. Don't
Yeah.
overcomplicate it, and then ask the question and just do it,
And just
and then
allow.
allow it to be, and just trust intuition.
Yes, absolutely.
That that was one of the things. I had a conversation with um, this woman. She's a speaker, and she runs some sort of coaching or boot camp program. And she was asking me as far as how I prospect between the different schools and colleges. And I say, I look at a specific state, and then I just compile the list of schools and colleges that are available within that. And then I'll email the principal or whoever the decision maker is. And at the time, she said, why don't you just look at the whole list and then just use your intuition to pick someone that you think would respond the most? And I didn't understand it. And I don't think I still do, to a degree, because and the reason why I don't is because, you're already starting with kind of a blind side. You have no idea. So, but there is something within that does make sense somehow, because I'm able to relate it to this concept of the cards, because it's the same exact thing. You look at all this, you don't see the other side, you have no idea, but then you pick one, and then you can relate it, and you can channel all the energy to that thing, to that card, and as part of it, you find the why, or the what, or the how, or whatever it is. So just interesting how that works. So thank you for teaching me how to use these cards.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then as far as what she was saying, allow your intuition to guide you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make the list, and as you're going down the list, you read the names,
Mm-hmm.
school, the principal. Like if you have this whole list, something will pop out at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll say, I don't know why I keep looking at this school and this principal, but I keep coming back to this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're allowing your intuition to choose,
Mm-hmm.
versus, one by one by one by one by one.
Mm.
I am at that point, I'm just task. It's almost like I'm performing a task.
Mm-hmm.
Here I'm allowing universal consciousness to help me make the next logical choice.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like if I were to say, so what should you and I be working on together? And you shuffle the cards,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see what the cards say.
This is $1 million answer here coming up.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Caleb,
That was another message.
yeah.
The dog. She was saying, or he was saying, see, it doesn't have to be perfect.
There's a lot of truth there.
There's a lot that, I mean, that's really I mean, that's a tagline. That's words to live by. That's a even a philosophy, right? It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
Interesting.
perfect. So it could be anything.
Yeah.
The world of possibilities are limitless. Just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't. It could just be. You kind of, yeah. I mean, that's just can't even describe it. That's one of the ultimate truths of life. Is that it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to. I don't even know if you just have to. You don't even have to. You just let it be.
I just got another download. And the message was, it you didn't specify that it was something you had to be doing together.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, what should Oleg and I be working on? Did I say together?
We're gonna have to go back in the recording.
We're gonna have to go back and see.
Yeah.
And it was like, because I was just thinking to myself, there's so many things that I'm like,
I'm actually gonna leave this card out.
Yeah.
Both of them.
And I was just thinking of, okay, the message, it almost seemed as though it was the same message for each of us. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because I got things that I'm working on, and there's that part of you that is always, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. That's what I learned in one of the things that I start, this whole starting process of a routine or whatever it is to really care for myself and the well-being is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Who's to say that there's only one way of reading a book? Who's to say that there's only one way of working out? Who's to say that there's only one way of journaling?
Who's to say that there's one way of doing anything?
Anything, yeah. Who's to say that there's only one way to write a book? I'm starting to not the rewrite, but the second part of it, and the direction that I'm going towards, just based on the energy, is that yes, you wrote it from the point of view. Can't find that card right now, but there's a reason for it. One of the challenges of writing a book to begin with, especially if it focuses a lot on your story, is that you write a good portion of it based on the story that you lived through. But then you also have to understand that there's a story that you're currently living through. And there are the perspectives that are developing every single minute, every single day. So the challenge is, how do you incorporate the two? And the message to that is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Seriously, you just do it. So today is actually my day one of that. Later tonight, I write best at night. So I'm gonna put this card somewhere I can see it every day. Because this is a really great reminder to live life by.
Within reach?
That, and then I think more so, it doesn't have to be perfect.
For sure.
That's
for sure.
Like no matter where you are in life, always relatable, always applicable.
Yeah, I'm thinking if I can get somebody to do a cool sort of like artist rendering of it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that belongs in everyone's home. Like if every parent sat down with their child as they were making their first day of school. So your first day of preschool, your first day of kindergarten, your first day of first grade, all the way until you finish high school. And your parents sat down with you and says, and remember, do your best. That's all that matters. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about how much pressure you relieve or you remove from your children. And you carry this idea with you on with your life, and you pass that on to your kids. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do your best. Get out there, have fun, enjoy yourself, give it all you got. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This is powerful. I'm slightly mind blown by it right now.
This happens every time we get on a call, dude.
Hmm. What's even more interesting is that there's going to be a time, when we're going to look back at these conversations, and then we're going to be like, holy shit, just even think about that thought of looking at that card and reading it doesn't have to be perfect, and 5 or 10 years later, that's literally how you lived life. Or even all of your life, it's according to that. Wow. So just remember that if there's anything that you take away from it, is that the Alchemist leads you to the message that it doesn't have to be perfect. The underlying truth of it all.
And I will tell you what's interesting is that there are very few moments that are absolutely perfect. Most of the time, 99% of the things we do are not perfect. Every once in a while, and I was thinking about that because my first thought was, it doesn't have to be perfect, which means that, and then I thought, well, if I think about my life, nothing's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think about asking my wife to marry me and how I did it. And it was flawless. Like it was perfect. That weekend, every single day, every single moment that led up to the moment where I asked my wife to marry me, up until the moment where she said yes, all of it was perfect. And so you can strive for perfection. And 1% of the time, it's going to be perfect.
So therefore, perfection does exist. And then it's that 1% that gives you hope for the other 99%.
It gives you drive. It gives you momentum, right? But if you recognize that it doesn't have to be perfect, it allows for the possibility that it could be. But here's the beautiful thing. If I was focused on being perfect, I may not ever have asked her to marry me. I was just focused on asking her to marry me. That's the thing. If it comes out perfect, it's a bonus. But
that's really
interesting
because with that line, it doesn't have to be perfect. It gives its own playing field as far as the number, not even the number, but the possibilities that it could happen. The things that you didn't predict, the things that you didn't see, the things that you didn't map out. And then once that perfection happens, then you're right. It's a bonus. It's an add-on. It's a feeling that you can't even prepare for.
No.
So that's a really interesting thing to take away and just approach life with, because if you go from that perspective that it doesn't have to be perfect, then you continuously open yourself up to more opportunities, and even opportunities that you haven't seen or didn't even know exist to you, or seemed unattainable, because all you focused on was you had to get it right before you released that book. You had to get it perfect before you released that course. You had to say the right things in order for that client to close in. But if you just let it be and just do and just allow yourself that, hey, I'm not striving for perfection. Actually, you experience that element of perfection a lot more. Quite a bit. So does perfection come from surrender?
It does. It does, because the people that I know that are constantly striving for perfection are always disappointed and live in suffering, miserable, right? And the people that aren't, people that accept that it doesn't have to be perfect, life isn't perfect, none of us are perfect, then most of the time, maybe not even most of the time, many times we surprise ourselves. So when you're not seeking perfection or expecting perfection, it allows for opportunities that feel absolutely perfect.
Mm. So perfection is really experienced within moments of imperfection. That's really interesting.
You know, when you make a perfect hole in one and you're golfing, if you go out expecting, striving to hit a hole in one over 18 holes, you are going to be miserable and disappointed. And if you actually do get one hole in one, you're going to go, yeah, but I missed all the other ones. And if you're trying to make a perfect cake every single time, then you're bound to be disappointed, because they're always going to come out a little bit differently. But if I go out and I'm like, dude, I am just going to go out. I'm going to play the best. I just feel great. I am just going to get in the zone. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be in the moment. No matter what, I'm going to have the best time ever. And I get a hole in one, then I'm running around telling everybody for the next fucking month, you will not believe what happened.
The level of excitement that creates,
Yeah.
you really can't compare that to anything else.
Be open to possibilities, my friend.
Wow. Well, you just gave me years worth of wisdom there, and years worth of possibilities and perspective and mindset and understanding.
And vice versa, my friend. Vice versa. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you this video. You do what you want with it. I'm going to fuck with it too. There's possibilities here. And
it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just gonna fucking whatever we do, whatever we each decide to do with it is up to us. But I think that, you know, you mentioned doing stuff like this. You know, I think if we can boil it down, if we can figure out how to do these things, ideally would be under, oh, there you go. There you go. Ideally under 5 minutes. Because YouTubers love 5 minutes and under. So
then the question becomes this: who are we doing it for?
That's a great question.
Are we doing it to grow as people? Because from there, that wealth of knowledge can spill to anyone in every conversation we have. They don't have to listen to the YouTube. Think about it this way, right? You're going to walk away from this conversation. I'm making an assumption, so I got to speak for myself. I'm going to walk away from this conversation with 2 levels of understanding based on 2 very simple cards through which I have not seen life before. So every conversation for the remainder of the day is going to be around these 2, whether I choose it or not. Just how it works. When you are fully connected to that energy and that force and that vibration, you almost have to force it to like shove it down and not talk about it. So the level of thought, the people that you're going to impact through this understanding, all just happen out of a simple call. So the ultimate question, and that's something that I started to ask myself more and more of, who are you doing this for? Yes, part of that demographic could be people that listen to YouTube for 3 to 5 minutes. But is that the goal? Or is the goal to use this as a space through which both of us not only remind ourselves of all of these elements of life? I mean, really think about the wisdom that I don't know about you, I gained a shitload of wisdom through this call.
Oh yeah, dude.
This concept of treasure.
Yeah. Trust me.
Like, it's here.
Yeah.
The treasure is in the inhale and exhale.
Mm-hmm.
The treasure is in not giving a shit when your dog barks when you are recording a call.
Mm-hmm.
The treasure is still loving the dog for the dog. And actually probably developing even more compassion for the dog and curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
You know? What is he seeing? Or is he agreeing with us? So there's a lot to answer within that, but I think that's the ultimate question that I would ask beyond anything.
Oh, then the answer is simple.
Who are you doing it for?
For us.
And if we're doing it for us, and part of that, if we choose to release it as is, here's another universal truth about life, is after a while, think about the work that you've done. You started with episode 1. I'm not going to guarantee. When I released episode 1, I might have had like 3 listeners. And that's probably if I was lucky. There's no way to track it now because everyone that's come across it, some of them start with the first one. So you always got to start somewhere. And that universal thing that I was going to say is that after a while, you start to attract the people of the same frequency, same wavelength. People that want to know similar things. You know? The other thing that I think has been I don't know if lost is the right word, but it's just not there as much, is the level of deep thinking in society. A lot of people refrain from deep thinking. A lot of people refrain from expressing their deeper thoughts. Why?
Fear.
Programming.
Rules.
Dogma. Lack of spaces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's limitless. Do not go within.
Yeah.
Do not go within. There's a universal language that is constantly being programmed in, is don't go within. Mm-hmm. Go out. Seek for that which is outside of me to fill the emptiness that I feel within. Better car, better house, hotter wife, whatever society is telling you. If you do this, if you have that, you will be successful.
Yeah.
And nowhere in there, nowhere is go inside. Ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself the deeper question. What is my purpose here? How can
Mm-hmm.
I serve more people? How can I be of greater service? How can I be of greater contribution? And the only way to do that is to grow as a human being. You have to grow. Your purpose here is to grow and to learn and to expand and to stretch and then to teach, to help and to serve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And nowhere in there is that on the billboards. Smoke this, drink this, wear that, drive this, eat this.
To minimize risk, minimize uncertainty, create safety. If I give you a decision, you don't even have to decide. You just do. You follow. But if I give you a split, drink this or that, that's already a complex decision for most. Wait, you're telling me I can do either one? Or both? Or none?
Which one do you think I should do? The other day, so here's what happened. This is actually, our whole conversation started from something I forgot. Okay, and now I remember what it is. So what happened was, my wife and I are just trying to decide whether we want to buy this property.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go with the realtor to go see this lot. This beautiful piece of property with an incredible view of the city. Okay, so it's on a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in a gated community, huge piece of property, and it's way under market value. So we're looking at this piece of property, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, dude, of course. And so the realtor's like, okay, well, get back to us or get back to me, when you guys talk it over. I'm like, okay, great. So we leave, and then we go to this giant reserve that's in the property. So inside the development is this reserve with just these amazing, beautiful trees. And we're walking through it. And my wife's like, so what do you think? Right. And I said, dude, I'm sold. Like I'm ready. Are you kidding me? There's nothing inside of me that's saying, no. Everything's screaming yes. And she's like, yeah. And I said, but wait, let me consult the trees. So I go and I put my hand on one of the trees and I go, okay, Mother Earth, Gaia, should we get the property? And I stood there for I don't even know how long. Felt like an eternity. I got nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was black. Okay. I might have seen a little bit like sparkly stuff. Okay. But not one, no language, no dialogue, no download, nothing. And I stood there with my hand on the tree and I looked back at my wife and I said, what's the only thing that came to my mind was the only download that Mother Earth gave me? And she goes, what? Urim and Surim. And there's this part in The Alchemist where they say where the guide says, and I think it was the king.
Yes.
Gave him the two stones.
Isam or something like that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
He says, you can use these, right? But don't use them too often. Okay? You have the ability to make decisions and choices on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Do not constantly be seeking yes, no on everything, right? And so the message was, sometimes I didn't
even think about that.
Sometimes I'm in this very complex space where I have to make a very important decision. But when it's right in your face, Don't question yourself. Don't question it. It's clear. You know in your heart. You already knew it before you you already knew it. And so the thing is, every time I ask a question that I already know the answer, or I can easily make on my own, it goes blank, and then Urim and Surim pop in. And it says, you're perfectly capable of making this decision on your own. You don't need me. What'd you get?
That's why he didn't patch out the hole.
Right.
That's why he let it slip. He didn't patch up the hole and let it slip just because of the fact that he can make decisions and he doesn't have to depend on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the rocks fall out and he loses them or whatever happens, at least what he's done is built ability within himself to already make it and not depend on the rocks. He gave them a plan to escape if they needed to. That's really interesting.
It was the ability to have faith. That's an expression of having faith, right? So you don't even need Urim and Surim. You can sit quietly in breath and in meditation and get the answer.
Yeah.
Yes or no? It'll come.
Just like it came to us.
Mm-hmm.
I said, who are we doing this for? And at first there's that thought, well, YouTubers, it's got to be under 5 minutes or 3 minutes and 42 seconds. But then it's just like, wait, why? Just do this for you. Commit to yourself. Commit to the journey. Commit to what else is possible. You know? Something that you said that actually still hasn't left my mind. I think it was the last conversation we had during which you said, who's to say that you're not monetizing the podcast already? Same exact thing. Who's to say that this is already not adding value? Who's to say that the only way to add value is to have X number of YouTube listeners, subscribers? It's already adding value now. And then beyond this, you get to be the ripple in other people's lives through this level of understanding and perspective. And now you've processed this perspective with another person, and through which you've been challenged through, and the reward is that you've developed at times even a completely different perspective from what you initially thought. And that's probably the best, in my opinion, that's the best gift you can give to anyone is a perspective. Perspective and a space for them to develop their own perspective. So don't give them the rocks, but instill the possibility that they can think in similar ways.
I love the idea of the rocks. I do love the idea of the rocks. And I have, ever since I read that, it's never left me. Ever. Urim and Surim, like, I even remember the names. I don't remember most things. Okay. Yeah. Like but it's just the idea that what does Urim and Surim represent to me? And so Urim and Surim live inside of me.
Yes. Yeah.
They live inside
I
of
was just literally thinking that because the line that he says in it, as far as feel the temperature of your body. If it's too hot or too cold, it's going to tell you. Never thought about it until now. That the rocks are inside of you. And if you feel your temperature, it's going to tell you.
It's going to tell you.
Wow. So there it is.
I think that's good enough for today. Until next time.
I like this. I think this is a really can't even describe it. This is it as far as the beginning to this journey. The phrase, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's probably the name, the motto, and everything that comes with it. Is that
it doesn't have to be perfect. No. And now you know how to use those cards.
Exactly. And made me even think about something that Joe Rogan does when you listen to his podcast. The way that the guy literally starts off, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then he just starts talking to the guests. No overcomplicated intros, no reading of the bios. Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey man, how's your day going?
Yeah, but of course there's 15 minutes of commercials before he gets there.
Yeah, maybe through like the iTunes. YouTube is just like that.
Ah, you're watching him on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm listening to the podcast and there's 15 minutes. 15 minutes. You're like forward. He's selling underwear, razors, fucking, mattresses, supplements, tickets to UFC.
Okay, maybe there is a different version.
Sorry to blow you.
I was getting excited. I was like, damn, like that guy just simplified the process.
I do. I actually, now that you mention it, it's like, I like it. I like this. I like the simplification, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? All right, my friend. We'll do this again soon.
Yeah.
Let's not put any parameters on how soon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what's next? How do we proceed? With it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, I think we're just going to know what came to me, because I'm the first one that said that, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, who's to say, right? And I'm like, this works just fine. Eventually, guess what'll happen? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, let's not try and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think your mind, maybe because you're younger, I don't know, seems to fire off ideas, right? So topics, whatever. Like, you might think, I want to have a conversation about something, right? And if I've got, the time, then we'll do it. We'll just put it in the hands of the universe. I liked it. As soon as you said it.
Gotta be.
Huh?
I think this one just gotta be.
Just gotta be. Here's the thing.
It follows a different structure as far as there's no topic, and it all circles back around. If you think about it.
And I'll be honest with you, man. Like, it's all. These are the only conversations I have lately. Okay, I have a lot of Olegs in my life. Okay, in the sense that I have had some of the most incredible conversations recently. I have only had, hold on one sec. I'll tell you right now. If I let me look at my interviews. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's incredible. Out of Nine conversations. Nine
Mm-hmm.
conversations. Out of 9 conversations, 8 have been just like this.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had one completely unlaunchable conversation that I was going, I'm never going to get this hour back. Okay. And to think, and if I look at the numbers wise, 9 to what is it? 9 to 1? I guess it's 9 to 1. No, 8 to 1. Is it 9 to 1? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If 1 out of 9, and let's throw another one before, because I'm pretty sure that the conversation before that, right? So there's 1 out of 10 is bad. Then, we're talking, that's still too much. That's 10%. Is that 10% or is that 1%?
10%.
Is it 10%? Fuck, I do not want to have 10% shitty conversations. So I'm going to have to go back through my list, and I'm pretty sure I can't remember the last time I had a fucking conversation that bad. All right. But I will tell you that I got to let it, I'm letting it flow.
Yeah.
Because part of me wants to have little mini conversations, topic-based little mini conversations with these people. So instead of, you go to, because I do have a vision. I do have, like, when you brought it up to me last time, I said, how interesting would it be to have these little short excerpts of, like, these dynamic conversations that are short, one topic, right, with multiple different people. And that's what's been coming up for me, is keeping in contact with the people that I enjoy having conversations with. And we're really, if the fact that it impacts us so strongly, number one, it doesn't matter who else it impacts, because it impacts us so powerfully.
Correct.
But chances are it's fucking gold content.
Yeah.
It's fucking gold. It just comes from a place that that doesn't have any sort of conscious even understanding. That comes from some sort of mystical force, because we just keep going back and forth, and it's limitless.
Yeah.
It's absolutely limitless.
Here's the thing I'll say in regard to that. 2 things. So I'm looking at our list of podcasts that we have yet to launch. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have literally 9 episodes. I kid you not. I'll even send you a screenshot. Out of the 9, there's one that I think it's on the verge of, like, not launchable. So the same exact number. So, like, what are the chances, right? So that's first things first. So there are no coincidences. That's the first thing. Second thing, the reason why I choose to innovate when it comes to content platforms or whatever else is because it gives me a chance to re-engage with those people again. So I don't know what you and I did, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out. And maybe what I'm actually coming to a conclusion is I just got to stop figuring it out, because I'm not going to figure out shit. I just got to keep going. You and I did something during that first conversation where it's like, I kid you not, every conversation I've had since, I'm like, how the fuck do we replicate what Omar and I did in this? Because of the like free flow, free dialogue. Like, you don't have to think when you engage in a conversation between you and I. Same way I don't have to think, okay, Omar's gonna make this pause, and when he does, that's when I intervene. It just happens. We just talk. So what makes us different? What makes us the way we are that gives us that ability to do so? Because the thing that you said about gold content is this is gold content. That's why I don't know, maybe there was something different. The difference was when I initially asked you if you wanted to create something together, was because I wanted to recreate those conversations, because it was helping me so much as a person. It was helping me grow in thought, like exponentially, not like gradual steps. It was like, like the stock market, but the only thing is that it doesn't crash. The stock doesn't plummet. It just keeps rising. So if there's any stock that I could buy, it'd probably be the stock of me if I was a publicly traded company right now. Because that shit, like I would be not would be, but I'm already a billionaire when it comes to the thought. And so that's the thing that it reminded me of right now, is that the reason why I choose to innovate with different platforms, different forms of content, is that I actively seek out to create other opportunities where I can bring in that same conversation on a more frequent basis, rather than, hey, let's see each other on May 1st or January 1st of 2021 and create that thing. Because that's the thing, is that this is the conversation that helps move forward, which goes back to the question of who are you doing this for? I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this to grow. And I'm hoping that as part of these conversations, you're also able to grow, because then you're able to see things that you haven't seen before, or think of things that you haven't seen before. And that's really, if you think about it to a degree, in my opinion, that's kind of the point of life. We look for these windows of opportunities. It's like, damn, I really wish I had not like an accountability partner, or I really wish I had someone who thinks not only on the same frequency, but someone who is sometimes here, like fucking everywhere. And then you're like, what ends up happening is you get lost in the curiosity of thought. And that's where I think you're able to really experience life for what life truly gives you the ability to experience. And that's the ability to think. The thing that helps us is that we think, but then we can also do. We can also act. We can also create. We can experiment. That's my 2 cents on why I choose to innovate, is because it gives me a chance to just have those conversations reoccurring. And I don't give a shit how many people listen, who downloads, who does what. Because here's the thing, if it's for you, it's for you. You're the only one that gets to decide that.
I love it.
People will listen to whatever they want to hear at any given time. Alchemist literally says that in the book. People will only listen to the things that they are actively seeking right now. So if your podcast didn't hit someone's ear when it released, it doesn't make your stuff shit. It just means that they were in a different phase of that process. So for me, the point is, well, how do I continue to create those phases for me where I'm actively engaged and I'm at my peak performance? Like right now, even though I'm not doing anything besides having a conversation, I'm at my peak performance. And I'm even like constantly pushing through that ceiling. Because it's a mutual space of understanding, of deep thinking. And then there's just I don't know, man, there's just something about this flow that it's like you get it and I get it. We get it. What the hell is it that we get? I don't know. But you just get it. Once you know, you know.
Well, I just got it. And again, coronavirus, you can call this PCV. Mm-hmm. I think PC sounds better, pre-coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So pre-coronavirus, PC, it's always about your avatar and you're niching down
Mm-hmm.
and you're focusing on your listener. And it's funny because when you ask the question, you know, who are we doing this for? And I went blank. I was like, I have no idea who I'm doing this for. Right? I have no idea. Who am I doing this for? Like who's my audience, right?
Because it's the ultimate question, or
Yep.
it seems like it's the ultimate question.
You know, and I think you said, I'm doing this for me. You might have said that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure. I'm going to go back and see. But somewhere in there landed, not only is it for me, because I said I'm doing it for us, right? But not only is it for us, but the other thing that landed was, hey, it's okay that it's just for you guys.
Yes.
That's the most critical facet of it. Like, it's okay that it's just for you. And it's okay to just focus on you.
Yeah.
Because right now, the value that you're getting from this conversation is not quantifiable by any stretch of the imagination. There's just no way to even understand the value that we're each getting from this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just a free flowing exchange of thoughts, ideas, beliefs, emotions, concepts, paradigms, perspective. And the thing is, it was unencumbered by an end result or an end user or an end listener.
Yeah.
The only reason why I pressed record was, oh, this is fucking already started into one of our conversations. I better record this shit, because at the end we're gonna say we should have recorded this.
Yeah.
Because it's really unbelievable sometimes the way it goes into every single realm of possibilities with absolutely no structure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Back to the card, right? It is within reach. Think about it this way. It is within reach. Conversation you and I had and have had before. One of the reasons why, well, we've already listed the reasons. We can re-listen to them for why people don't choose to go into this space, right? Fear, judgment, uncertainty. Am I saying the right stuff? Are we on the same wavelength? Are we looking for that same treasure? Do we define that treasure by the same terminology? So all of that shapes whether or not you're going to reveal your true self. And when you stop giving a shit about, hey, this treasure, it's already here. You've already attained that gold, that feeling, the fulfillment, the excitement. One of the questions I remember I was recently asked on this call, it was just like an intro call I had with this woman. She's a coach, and she's like, are you happy? And I said I was happy, but I didn't smile afterwards. And she's like, there's no way you can be happy. And I said, why? Is a smile the only thing that defines happiness? What is happy? Do I feel satisfied? Hell yeah. Do I love myself? Absolutely. You know, do I laugh at times when I'm probably about to cry? Yes. So a smile is not the only thing that defines happiness and answers that question. And the reason why I bring all that up is that this whole conversation, it is within reach, and that treasure, and recognizing what that treasure is this is a treasure. This is a treasure that we're seeking, and simultaneously, this is probably a treasure that other people are seeking too. There is a fucking reason. Let's not focus on the numbers, but for the sake of the conversation, as far as when we were first trying to decide, hey, we got to do this in 5-minute clips for YouTube, there's a fucking reason why Joe Rogan has 10 million listeners per episode. And all he does is just speaks his fucking mind. He smokes weed, he drinks, and he speaks his mind. And people are like, wow, I can't believe he said that. So the question that I've pondered on for a while is like, I'm not trying to be him. I'm trying to be me. I'm already being me. But I can do the same thing. I feel confident enough in my skin and who I am that I've already faced a shitload of rejection and everything along this path, that no matter what anyone gives me as a piece of feedback from here on out, it is not going to stop me from being me. I could receive a message in the next minute saying, you do the world's worst work. And I would say, thank you for that compliment. What made you think of that? Boom. You just reframe that question. You try and gain understanding instead of a thing to judge and whatever. So what I'm saying is that we're already sitting on the treasure. This is a treasure. The treasure is the space. It is within reach because it's right here. We already have it. We've already attained elements of it. And that's where I think that's where I think the genius is within this, is that it's already here. It's already accessible. It doesn't have to be anything more than this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Literally, these conversations can start the same fucking way. You and I can start talking, and then 15 minutes later, you can just hit the record button. I mean, if that's a thing, we'll probably have just hit the record at the beginning. But you know what I mean? There's no intro. There's no fancy text. There's nothing fancy about it. We just do it. And then as part of it, we just always remember, why did we commit to the journey? Who are we doing this for? If we're doing this for ourselves, you'll be shocked and I will be shocked. I'm already shocked by the results that I've seen from this, how this level of motivation, energy, drive translates into other components of my life. Like as soon as I'm done with this call, I'm like, holy shit, not only is my brain firing in every direction, but like life has just turned a completely different lens. You know, this whole realm of possibility, like it's actually a thing now. That's a thing. That's one of the things that I think Think and Grow Rich ultimately wants to teach you, is the power of a mastermind. You know, I've been part of a lot of masterminds, and I think the ultimate reason why some of them don't work is because there's such a great variation in frequency among the people that are involved.
100%.
And when there's that great variation, the synergy it's so hard. And then you got to force it. You got to be like, all right, Omar, now you got to talk. What do you think? And then the ultimate sweet spot is, I think, when I don't have to tell you that. When I don't have to tell you, Omar, it's your turn to speak. You just fucking know, and you just do it. And I give you the same exact thing that you give me, and that's respect. That's it. It's as simple as that. Now, how do you make more Omars? I have no idea. Whatever you bring to the, you know, I don't know how you do this, but like, even though, here's the thing, not to compare and contrast, because each of those 10 conversations or podcasts that we've pre-recorded, they're all unique for what they are. But none of them are this. Zero. Just absolutely zero. Great conversations, great topics. But if I were to look at them and it's like, none of them are this. Part of it is, I think people are waiting for permission to speak. People are looking for windows to validate their experience. And the other thing is that people truly don't engage in this kind of dialogue. And when you don't engage, and when this is not your everyday life, of course it's going to come off as a foreign language. Why wouldn't it?
And I don't know if it's because of my age or it could be, I don't know. I don't know how to.
I'm
I try to.
27.
Yeah, dude, you're just a baby. I don't know. 27. I mean, I'm almost twice your age.
Exactly.
So obviously, I don't know. There's no obviously. My point being is this, is
Mm-hmm.
that when I think about the conversations I've had recently, okay, like I said, there's only one that's and I mean, we're talking absolute shit. Like
Yeah.
I hated every minute of that conversation. I knew halfway into it, this is never going to air. Like this guy's going to have to fucking, he's going to have to wow me in the, at the end here. But if I would have had to bet money on it, there's no way I would have bet the under.
Was it about religion?
No. It was recovery. It was a recovery. My podcast
Oh,
was about
recovery.
recovery. So it was always about recovery. But he was it was like pulling teeth,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, man, I recently had an interview with a kid that's about your age. I think he's 30. I think he's 34, right?
Uh-huh.
And we had this fucking conversation. And I just remember just blown away with some of you kids. Blown the fuck away, right? I could have never, back when I was your age, fuck, I was too busy either smoking weed or fucking, I don't even know what the fuck I was doing. But I certainly wasn't having these kinds of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't. It was always these meaningless, superficial conversations talking about drinking, partying, women, conquest, money, rinse, repeat, vacuous, and on the surface, nothing deep. Nothing deep. And I think maybe that, I don't know, it's like you said, it's you seek and you shall find. And, if you want to have more conversations like these, they're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. Because these are the conversations, right, that you've already put out into the universe what you want. Yeah. And it's funny because I remember we had our conversation. I go, fuck, that was fucking awesome. I need more of these, right? And guess what? I got a bunch more.
Yeah.
They came one right after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's right within reach, right? It's right within, right within reach. It's not perfect, or we don't go into it with any kind of structure, and then at the end, it's like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect. Oleg, I'm a dude. My only concern with you is it's a minimum of 2 hours. You're a commitment. So I go, got to plan ahead.
Hey, it's a two-sided street here.
Good. You get it. You get it. All right. So let's just leave it here. All right. Let's let the coronavirus guide us.
Cool.
All right. You want me to send you this?
I don't know what any of that means, but
at the beginning of the conversation, we got to let the coronavirus guide us. It's trying to teach us something.
That's true.
It's trying to teach us something. And if we do not stop and ask, coronavirus, what are you trying to teach me?
Yeah.
What do I need to learn here? And that was the question. That's what we opened up with. That's the only reason why the cards came out.
Right.
Right, was to ask the question. What are you here to teach us? That it's within your reach.
That's really wild that that's the card that came up after reading The Alchemist, that it's all about the treasure.
It's not at all. I've been doing this a long time. Those cards have been a part of my life for the last at least 10 years.
Really?
At least 10 years.
Do you use them daily? How do you know when to use them?
I use them whenever I want. I use them daily sometimes. Sometimes they just sit there for I don't know how much time. And then one day we'll have breakfast and my wife's like, hey, let's pull a card. Oh, let's do it. And sometimes when we're like in battle mode and there's a crisis, it's every day. And every day we get an answer. And usually when we get on track, we'll pull the cards and we both know what we're going to get. Urim and Surim.
It's wild.
We open it up, it goes, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, looks like it's time to put them away. You'll see. You'll see. When it stops working, you realize you're on track. It's really.
What do you mean when it stops working? What does that mean?
It means that you'll pull a card and you'll go, "This." I asked the question. I'm not getting anything. I'm getting zero.
Oh, so that means you're on track with the
means
previous one.
You quit fucking around. Get to work. Right. I'll be here for you. All right. We got you on track. Go. I haven't even been pulling cards recently. Like my wife and I were like, just for fun, right? And we're like, I don't even know. Feels like looks like it's telling us we're on the right track. Okay. But other times, like right now, what we just did, it was like, wow. And it just carried us for 2 hours.
That's a really good piece of advice. When it doesn't, yeah.
Surim and Surim, bro. That's, I live by it.
And it's always within. That's crazy. I before that, I used to think that it's about the rocks, the physical things. But it's about feeling your temperature, the temperature that's already inside of you. And it reveals you the yes or the no. But don't depend on it, because there's so many other things that affect that temperature. Wow. All right. Well, 2 hours later, that's what we got. At least we know, right? At least we learn.
We know. Here's at the end of the day, we realize that what we get out of this is what we get out of this.
Yeah.
That it's not about trying to come up with $1 million idea. It's not about coming up with the perfect content. It's that every time we have a conversation, magic happens. And right now it's no different. It's no different than what's going on in the world. It's uncertain. Who knows what's going to come from this? But so far, it's been great.
Wow.
So there's no call to action. There's no next step. There's just till next time.
That's a really interesting approach.
Yeah, buddy, listen, I am down for new approaches. Tired of being tied down to what's next. What action do we have to step? How do we monetize this? How do we maximize this? How do we, fuck. You inspired me in this conversation to let it be.
It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm literally going to tape that card to my wall.
You know what you should do is just put them in some kind of copy machine or whatever, put them right next to each other, right? and put them on your fucking wall together, right next to your picture of Oprah.
Yeah.
And send those to me. Put them right next to each other. Put them on a blank piece of paper. Shoot the photo. You can send those to me.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, man. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
Wow. Learned a lot. Continuing to learn a lot. But the cards, that just blew my mind.
I love those things. Love those things. I love you, brother.
Oh, wow. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it is within reach. That's just mind-blowing how it happens. But all right, let's do that. So let it flow, let it be.
Let it be.
And then we're going to figure it out.
It'll come. It'll come.
It always does. Just like you
does.
read a damn book and then you pick up a card that literally talks about the same thing, which makes no sense at all, but it works. Yeah. I don't get it, but it works. It literally does. And then you and I start talking, and then the dog barks, and literally perfect timing agrees. The sound of yes. So it's all connected. It's all connected somehow.
All right, my man. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
You too, brother.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the SHAIR Podcast. And be sure to click subscribe to the SHAIR Podcast YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on all the major social media platforms. Go to our website, the SHAIR Podcast. Go to my website, omarpinto.com. Find out about joining the SRC, the SHAIR Recovery Community, or one-on-one coaching with me by setting up a free consultation. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the following SHAIR Podcast episode.